League of Legos.
Here we go, guys. Griffin on the blue side. And we'll see if they ban out something else here after the loss.
Where would the adjustment be? I think the Aatrox being so good at tussling with the first pick Urgot might be considered. They keep banning 280 carries on blue side. The Ashe is banned out. I don't know if Crown will go into the Varus mid, and that flex pick has been one of the reasons that teams are so ready to ban away Varus in the first round. They will ban it anyway. Maybe without jungle intervention towards the side of Gen.G, the results can go differently, and we get the same bans 3 games in a row.
I think there's no question as to what is the next pick. I already had it written down on my sheet. As to that one as well, we will see Aatrox. But what about this bottom lane? They're happy about the way it went with the Zyra Khan.
Do you tank a ban here and take Gragas away? Or ban Gragas in the second round? They're going to go for the tier list again. And will this be the downfall of Griffin? Because remember, Valdez, if we have one consistent criticism of Griffin in the second round, it's stubbornness. They would run a strat like the Lucian funnel, it would lose, and they would say, no, this is the strategy, let's run it again. And when you win the second time, you're able to say, we just executed on our win conditions better. When you remember them losing with the same thing, we're talking 4 or 5 times over the course of second round robin, you say, maybe the stubbornness will be your downfall. The Griffin story has been big, but their trophy case, their true accomplishments are nil. The World Championship qualification is so open, they're going to rely on Kate Morgana again and just try to execute better than game number 2.
If they don't ban Gragas, I'm going to lose my mind.
All right. Well, if I have to solo cast one game while you cool down, I'll understand it, but let's see if the bans are rolled back. The LeBlanc was definitely in the ban list last time. It was Lulu here that was the ban to stop something like a Lulu Xin Zhao duo.
Okay.
Nothing changes.
Haru might as well pick the Gragas. I mean,
I don't think we'll see Nidalee again, so that will probably be an adjustment on the side of Griffin. What will we see from them? Because Olaf could be considered here. Can be nuked on his way in if he doesn't get a good lead. I imagine jungle has to change. Waiting for Griffin to finish up their picks. Mid lane jungle, what we're looking for, but it could be Chovy on the Urgot. Last pick for Crown.
Okay.
So it's going to almost certainly be the same matchup. Again, the jungle pick could really change things. I'd be very surprised to see Nidalee.
Don't do it to me, Tarzan. No, they're laughing. They're hovering it. I doubt this is going to be the pick.
Let's
Even
wait and
Haru's
see.
laughing.
So far, nothing has changed from game number 2. Okay. I think the Olaf is much smarter, and they will go Olaf.
That I can respect. Now Crown, he's played 2 games of Lissandra in a row. Does he want to mix anything up?
Doesn't have a good time kiting an Olaf. First axe hits, doesn't matter if full glacial path is the same as the range of the Olaf axe, but also you could say, get the snowball going, and it certainly works. Gen.G run back the exact same comp, but the Olaf for Nidalee is a much bigger substitution than a support change or an AD carry change. This does have a very big change on the texture of the Griffin draft, but will it have a big enough change on the result? Because it was a very comfortable victory for Gen.G in game number 2.
Big difference being the Olaf in game number 1 was able to dunk Haru's Gragas, especially early on. Ended up level 6 inside Haru's jungle, who was level 4, and was able to start off the game on their footing. You mentioned this kind of composition can get ahead early and take over the game. We'll see if Griffin can make it happen this time, though.
And when we fully load in, will we see summoner changes? Cleanse for Irelia in game number 2. Cleanse against the Lissandra Gragas, understandable, but Ignite and Olaf could make things different. Viper had the teleport. Didn't really find too much value from it because they fell behind and lost first turret in game number 2. Will there be a change in game number 3? We'll get that information very shortly. 9 out of 10 champions remain the same. Griffin looking for a vastly different result to go 2-1 up in this elimination best of 5.
Gen.G right now, I saw the coach hands in the air. He's like, okay, I mean, this is good. We just won with this composition. The only difference is the Nidalee. We can do this, guys. Haru, really good on that Gragas. We'll see if he has the same kind of fantastic pathing, I would say, is really important to get that early game in their favor. The countdown has started, guys. Let's jump into game number 3 right now. Gen.G up against Griffin. Here we go, guys. Caitlyn and Morgana back on the cards here for Viper and Lehens. We'll see if they can make it work this time around. CV Max spent the majority of his time talking to his bottom lane duo. I hope he had some wise words as to what went wrong.
I mean, there was definitely 2 or 3 obvious mistakes with when people walked up, where the Black Shield went. So there are things that could be adjusted about the 2v2, and it has been a winning matchup in the past. Let's talk about the one adjustment. Again, 9 out of 10 champions the same. The Olaf comes in. Let's talk about why they didn't draft Olaf in game number 2 and why they do draft it in game number 3. They tried to get some magic damage from somewhere, and the jungle was the result. They went for the Nidalee because it gave them magic damage. Note, they do not have magic damage in this comp unless they go Wit's End on Chovy. It's not going to be any real huge magic damage here. So at the end of the day, it does give them a 1 damage profile. Against true tanks, that sucks. If it's going to be AP Gragas, it's already going to be damage from Cuvée. There probably is going to be no true tank. And the Olaf is much more reliable about how much early game pain he can act. So you do get the advantage of sticking the mid game better. We're not getting to the late game 2 days ago or today. We had a lot of 20 to 30 minute finishes. Therefore, they can hit their win conditions early enough. 1 damage against no true tanks may not be a true consequence, but it makes sense why they tried the Nidalee, but now they fall back on the Olaf.
It's definitely a good point, and it's very important, right? When people see this draft, they're going to be shaking their heads. Like, what are they thinking? You know, is this just stubbornness? But it seemed like CV Max and the rest of the Griffin boys were very confident that they can win with this composition, you know, change up one thing in the Nidalee to the Olaf, but then make it work from there. I'm excited to see if they can do it. Would definitely make things very interesting and perhaps force Gen.G to pick something different.
Adjustments are small. Both teams known mostly for chill and farm and then team fight. And it's a very bold thing to do that against Griffin, but Gen.G didn't need to. They were able to stick the landing. They lost 1 crucial fight from ahead, but the sins of the early game eventually meant that the second one stuck. Crown had a great engage and the game ended. So see how the table setting is here for game number 3. I'd love to see the pace go up. I'd love to see some LPL-esque bloodshed. Just doesn't seem to be the Korean way.
Crown here, back on the Lissandra, saying, hey guys, this isn't just a pick into Akali. It works against Zoe, and especially Aurelia.
Did it work against Zoe?
That's what he's saying. That's not what we saw, but that's what he said.
Had a chance to talk to Crown after the series 2 days ago. Was asking him about the Rise build, because he went for the Rylai's there. He also had the Spellbinder for some extra Nikes. And I said, is that something you picked up from solo queue, or is it a Crown special? He said, that one's all me. So he's definitely someone who thinks about the game a different way. Famously, when there was picks in the meta he couldn't play, think of Syndra in 2016 Worlds, he would play the champion extensively in solo queue to know how to play against it, rather than to learn it and pick it up himself. So he's always played 4 to 5 champions at once, but if you can always make it work, then apparently you can go very far when it comes to his double World Championship finals.
Yeah, Fly came in and said, hey, I'm the mid laner now. Crown had to take a big back seat. I know everybody was kind of sad for him, as he's one of our more expressive pro gamers when it comes to showing his disappointments.
He has the earring, he has the flair, he's definitely had the up moments. He was our 2017 Spring MVP. We love the best of Crown, but it's so long ago, Valdez. Again, I haven't seen Crown pop off in that way for the better part of a year and a half. It was 2017 Spring, the last time that Crown was in the conversation for top 2. He looked really, really good in that last series. He's coming off a game-winning moment, so let's see if Crown can flex on Griffin in game number 3.
See a more in-depth look at this mid lane. Of course, Chovy has not backed And he is pretty low, and Haru looks like he wants to take advantage of this. He has the control ward. One play from Crown can make it work. There's the flash, and immediately he's gone. First blood goes to Crown in the mid lane, just like that.
Man, Crown and Haru making it work like 2017 Spring. These guys were first and third in the MVP set because they combined to really accentuate the pros of both and minimize their flaws. Deadly stuff on the engage, and Gen.G on the board first.
Oh, made it look so easy, too. Ooh. Just that Aurelia not looking as good after having some help from Haru. The focus was down in the mid lane, but it doesn't look like Haru cares about that bottom lane this time around. I meant to say bottom lane the first time around, so.
Can Gen.G be this gauntlet monster again? 2 years in a row. They have won the gauntlet. They come in and you take enough time and Haru says, thank you very much. Picks up the kill. If you take any longer, the Predators popped earlier, Tarzan comes in. There's a potential 2 for 0 to the side of Griffin, but not when it's as clean as the side of Gen.G was able to pull off.
All junglers know that the difference between half a second, maybe even a quarter of a second at times, can be the difference between one of your lanes living and dying. And Tarzan, he's having flashbacks now. What if he was there just a second earlier? What if they lose this game and go on to lose the series? Won't be only his fault, of course. It's not really his fault at that. It's, you know, a good play. Trying to go aggressive down on the bottom side. Lehens does blow the ignite, but Ruler is going to live in the end.
I draw your attention to the CS. It has been 10 CS lead for Viper again, so the lane going well, as the on-paper matchup suggests. The jungler's here. Olaf actually cheated top side, so wasn't actually there for the gank a moment ago on that second binding hit. Lehens 2v2 laning on Morgana, despite a lot of victories in the champion. It's been pretty poor. He has a lot of 2v2 deaths on this pick. Was much better in team fights, but never could do that in the previous game. As Tuvi's looking to take aggressive trades, but is a level down on Crown.
Yeah. Remember, when you die that fast, you are going to have your summoners, because even if he wanted to use his flash, he wasn't going to be able to use it and live, because he was just stunned from beginning to end. So Tuvi still does have his ignite flash, at least, to continue being aggressive in the lane.
Also, I'm sure stunned when it comes to just how fast he died. You always feel a bit testy in scenarios like that, and we do know he is the youngest player active in the LCK, 17 years and 5 months of age. To his credit, has been very poised in high-pressure scenarios before. The only time I've been worried about Chovy was when he was subbed in for the series against Jin-Air that crucially Griffin lost and cost them first place. Was subbed in, played Zoe, and looked really off his game in game number 3 of that series. We'll see how he performs here, has mostly passed the test of playing in high pressure. But there's high pressure and there's Gauntlet Gen.G, where they rewrite their power ranking from all year and suddenly look like an immovable force.
That control ward, you guys all saw it. That's going to get some significant value. Gen.G know exactly where the Olaf is. Not going to give them value right now, but we'll see how long that does stay alive, because Tarzan, he walked by it multiple times already. Hasn't thought to check that brush. And knowing where the Olaf is can mean the difference between winning a lane and losing it, getting a kill, being able to be aggressive, and having to play passively if you don't know where he is.
And let's talk about another change in game state that I think is relevant to people saying, why the hell are they rolling back this draft? Might have to hold the point, as Gragas and Haru has been so deadly. We're going to see Gragas in a half a second. Here we go.
Lane was pushing. This time around, Viper does have his Nikes on. Looking to turn it back. Here's JG getting in Featherstorm too. Will it be enough? Yes, it is. Ruler pulls him back for the kill. Nicely done to get that just at the end. And Crown is also going to get away.
Now Tarzan's popped the Predator, but is this too little?
Okay, we'll see what he can do. Only one axe to the face of JJ, and he gets away scot-free.
Even though they make the right adjustments, the kill still goes the way of Gen.G. So crucial that work. The control ward, double control ward, meant that the chance of a counter gank was nil. It's more calculated than you might expect. The blue ping shows up. Little too late. It was perfectly played, but Lehens, we talked about his death. It's not a 2v2 death, but Morgana is so eminently squishy, and every feather needed to hit for that kill to be registered by Ruler. You definitely feel hard done by if you're Lehens. Now they're sticking around, trying to take the turret. Okay. Now we get a moment to breathe, and I can talk about why you roll back this strat, because you might think, why not go for a ranged mid laner? Once again, like the Zoe, punish the Lissandra, and then you don't have to worry about this game state again. The reason you don't is because how should this draft work? We must discuss that from the side of Griffin. Morgana Kate, double ranged, pushes in and takes the turret of Xayah Rakan, one of the few lanes that can have priority on Xayah Rakan, and then Aurelia hits the side lane, this time with Ignite. 1-3-1 Aurelia, very, very famous, can rotate into enemy jungle and get picks with her E as well. And you win the game through pure 1-3-1. Problem is, they never got that first turret in game number 2 and got dictated to. They feel like if you don't make the mistakes in the 2v2, you'll get the turret, you'll get the Aurelia first in a side lane and win from there. However, another successful Haru gank, and maybe it's just a replay of game 2, and that game state doesn't happen a second game in a row.
And that would raise real questions for Griffin. We'll continue saying it. How are they feeling? Finally see a stun land here from Toby. I believe that's the first one I've seen from him onto Crown. So finally making that Aurelia work. Tarzan. You'll see that both teams kind of hovering around the Ocean Drake, but nobody really putting too much pressure to take that one too early. Gen.G, by the way, I was keeping a total on the Dragon count. They're 7-0 ahead of Griffin so far. So even though Tarzan won the jungle, you could say, in game number 1, he did lose in game number 2 on the Nidalee, and he still got behind on the Dragons at least.
It's not turning into Drakes, not really turning into counter-jungling either. I'm sure the heat map at 15+ minutes will once again register. Olaf kind of farming and then being second to ganks. So at that point, why not Sejuani? Why not Zac? Why not something that can scale into late game a bit cleaner?
How about a 12-0 Trundle? Haven't seen that in a while from Tarzan.
I was actually in the taxi to the final with Max, with Atlas, and talking about the Trundle, being like, what does it mean if he doesn't play Trundle? Because he doesn't always pick it when it's up. What does it mean if he doesn't play Trundle, which is 12-0 on the season, and they lose the final? Doesn't that mean that he should have played it at some point and really risked the chance to take the game over with that pick? And it happened. He didn't play it there, and he hasn't played it so far here. He might end the season with 12-0 Trundle and not go to Worlds. The what does it mean there is something that might haunt you in the future.
Yeah, and he's a pro. He's not doing it just to keep that 12-0.
No.
As funny as that sounds, would be a nice number to have, but if you don't make Worlds, then what does it mean? It means nothing.
It means you get a really long holiday to think about what if you played Trundle that one time.
Yeah, exactly. Not so bad into the Gragas. And yeah, I'd like to see it. Maybe game 3 we'll get a chance. If they don't ban the Gragas, my mind is still lost, guys, by the way, from that pick ban.
CV Max definitely stays true to himself. Again, interviews have shown that he has a very strong opinion of how he thinks the game should be played, how a team should be coached. And if they run the draft 3 times and lose 3 times, it'll make you reevaluate some of the things that look so clear when it came to praising him previously. Still, this game is far from over. It definitely isn't quite as bad an early game as it was in game number 2. Haven't lost the turret and allowed Xayah Rakan onto the map just yet. That's the kind of last straw when it comes to Griffin's early game, and the double Hex Drinker is there if they want to fight soon.
Now's the time. They're not too far behind. You'll remember in game number 2, they were, okay, actually QV looking to get aggressive on the sword, not going to go for it though, just winning the trade, but Gen.G were ahead about 3,000 gold at 20 minutes after a couple of crucial ganks from Haru. He did get those crucial ganks once again, but the lead is not as big. It's not an Infernal this time around as well.
Kind of consistent thing, though, has been the vision advantage that Gen.G has been able to create. They've held a control ward in Caitlyn Morgana's Tri-Brush for what? The entire game? That's kind of insane, given that Kate Morgana's picked for lane and might show the lack of familiarity for Viper and Lehens on a lane like this when they have stubbornly been playing the same stuff through the course of the regular season. Just feels like Ezreal would have been the champion here a month and a half ago, and now it's the Caitlyn trying to fight the Xayah Rakan and show respect to the power of the Lovers duo. Lovers keep pushing up. Morgana has left the lane. Not going to be able to get the standing goal. We knew the turret was low, just like it was in game number 2. And actually finishing it is proving difficult for Griffin.
Definitely speaks to the timing of the gank as well. You know, that turret is about to go down. The lane was just pushing up for that moment where they would begin to push into the turret. And then Gen.G just say no. You know, the perfect timing from the Haru gank is what I would call that. Now we have a 2-on-1 onto Kyve up in the top side. He is going to be able to hop that wall, but there's the World Ender forced to be popped. Immediately, Sword is going to lock him down.
No counter gank coming.
Ultimate. Yeah, he's pretty much dead meat here. Down he does go. Tarzan able to pick up that kill. Nice 2-to-1 gank.
But of course, the bot laner Griffin should know that the equal and opposite play will be on the bot side. They vacate already. TP into mid lane, but it still is a nice tempo play from Griffin. They gain something and they don't lose instantly. They now have time to find another advantage and push towards something on the map.
They're looking to bite up as much as they can chew as well. Even thinking about this red buff here is Haru.
But not too much. It's not, how about we outplay the turret dive as well? No, they give up the turret. Yeah. They will lose what was a 70% health turret, so in terms of turret leads, but double down where you're strong. Play around how your draft works rather than minimizing is the Griffin play, and they get the Rift Herald on the back end. This is a play where you say, good job, Griffin, because there was no Drake on the bot side to take, so it was always going to be a net positive for Griffin.
They catch up in gold, and yeah, there's just no vision on the top side. There's even a control ward by Sword to make sure that this happens. Sword also makes sure that the Lavelle has been popped, and then Kyve is just dead.
It was actually smart to use the ult on the first farm. Obviously, the res was going to come, but didn't want him to open up a lot of space and then have all these areas to outplay. Just gets him close to the Olaf. They kill him. Well executed from the side of Griffin. And the moment that turrets in the side lane start to go down, the Aurelia can finally start moving is, for the first time, it is a more Malmortius rush on the Aurelia.
Okay. That's one way to survive against all the AP damage that they do have with Lissandra and Gragas.
However, it makes really there only be one good lane assignment for the Aurelia. She only wants Lissandra. She's against Aatrox. She's, you know, got nothing to fight against the Aatrox.
How about a Ruby Crystal? That's what he has.
And that's why you see Lissandra backing first. The lane assignment going to be much cleaner for the side of Gen.G if they can get Aatrox into the Aurelia. Right now, it's just get everyone away from the Aurelia. The duo lane would be acceptable as well. Looking at that heat map we mentioned already, Tarzan only right at the end, able to get some involvement on the top side. Those were post 15 minutes, around 16 minutes those plays were made.
Next Drake will be the Cloud Drake. We'll see if Gen.G can continue their monopoly. They're 8-0 right now on the Drakes in this series. Griffin, what are they going to do in this one? Looks like actually Chovy in a bit of an awkward spot. Does have Tarzan nearby though. They're thinking about the 2v2, but how about when Kyve steps up? Looks like Tarzan's still happy to continue on the chase, but the blasting plant is there.
All about the next levels by the side of Griffin. What I mean by that is, okay, definitely not Lissandra into Chovy because of his item choice, but Griffin knows that as well. So if they can be ahead of the play and catch something like Core JJ and Haru in rotation to gank Aurelia, you can take advantage of the predictable lane assignments. So always the chance to outplay, even if the options seem limited. Another deep Rift Herald. Probably not going to get too much value. Kyve and Haru able to come up and try to fight this. As we have to zoom way out to see Crown being harassed away by Sword.
Rift Herald, when you put it that far back, it takes a while to get that charge, and it's actually
dead.
Not even going to get any damage. No minimum damage either, just nothing. And that means that that value you were talking about earlier, it's chunked down quite a lot.
And that's the second time Airborne, the Rift Herald hasn't been able to complete the charge. Happened on the inner turret in game number 2. So Rift Herald trade in results-based fashion doesn't get anything. Crown chasing in here. Will it be 8-0 on the Drakes?
It's actually going to make it 9 as they do pick that one up. And now Griffin thinking about engaging Core JJ. Oh, so close to getting caught there. It's a nice little choke for Chovy to go ham, but everybody on Gen.G is able to disengage.
And a choke like that, the W from Kyve on this Aatrox is just about as strong as can be, so it wards them away. So it means that the tempo trade earlier, in hindsight, wasn't much. Sword pushes up in a better spot against Kyve, but what if Crown joins?
Okay, he's going to be in position here, and Urgot, he's got some armor and a cleanse, actually, but will that shield be enough? No, it will not, as Juve and Crown get an opportunity.
Gen.G reading the map really well. These piggyback ganks work well when there's no Baron threat from the enemy. Griffin were in full reset elsewhere. Everyone was picking up camps and farm. No one was pushing in objectives, so it didn't matter that no teleport. Crown went bot lane. He puts the claw over the wall, and if you're Sword, when you look at the minimap here, you should know, with recalls and nothing happening, the rest of your team meandering, no point to use your summoners. You're definitely dying. Nice play, Gen.G. Great timing on that one.
Well done. Gets a nice amount of gold into Crown's pockets at the end of the day here. Both he and Juve now with the kill. That means that burst damage is going to be even more terrifying as we get later on in the game. It wasn't the Irelia with the stacking magic resist that got one shot by Lissandra. It was Caitlyn and Morgana who have no magic resist. If Crown can close the distance again, even if they're not miles ahead, he can turn a fight in their favor with that extra gold.
That's why Griffin versus Gen.G to me was never as one-sided as people wanted to look at. Because we think of both these teams, the more measured team in the late game was always going to win, finding hits, but will be able to get out. On this day, it's being Gen.G. They beat them 2-0 in the second round robin. There's nothing about the innate styles that says X team counters Y. In this case, Griffin counters Gen.G. I actually think that Gen.G are very competitive against Griffin in terms of match style because they overlap a lot. And because of that, Gen.G in the clutch have just been able to eke out advantages that Griffin haven't been there to punish.
It's important to note, I know a lot of people are making predictions based on Gen.G's performance up against SKT, but that's a team where you're dealing with Faker by himself trying to carry a game super hard and a different type of play style from many different lanes, so.
They're getting these good lane assignments because there's no deep wards on the side of Griffin. They haven't been able to put down deep wards, so consistently it's Urgot against magic damage, it's magic resist Irelia against physical damage. And speaking of physical damage, here's Juve.
Oh, he's going to knock up Viper before that Black Shield. They have enough damage and they take him out. Lahen's not able to help out in the end. And Viper on that long-range Caitlyn not able to survive.
This is a vision battle that is separating the two, and it's being overwhelmingly won by Gen.G. Every lane assignment they want, physical damage against more Malmodius, they're getting a gank bot side where the enemy knows nothing about the map, so can't punish. They're getting, and now they get the roam dive. Flash, heal, Black Shield doesn't matter when you have the Aatrox rolling in. They have no spoilers here. It feels like Gen.G have the map hacks and Griffin are in permanent Nocturne ultimate, and thus we can't be surprised that again and again, Gen.G are opening up a lead.
It's definitely one of those Aatrox moments as well. What the hell? He just stares at him in the bush. Now he's thinking about it, but uh-oh, you're going the wrong way, kid. Flashes and misses. Is going to Frozen Tomb. Can he survive is a question. Has his Zonias, but one more axe will do it. Sword is going to be able to pick up that kill. As Crown, I don't know, buddy. Not this time.
Schrodinger's bush doesn't work, but Sword might be taken down anyway.
Sword alone here in the back does a nice amount of damage to Core JJ, but he's able to hop the wall, and it is going to be a 1-for-1.
But this time, they're getting something. This time, Irelia is top lane pushing. They're getting farm onto the Irelia. It's still nice to see a proactive play from Griffin, because if you want to summarize these two games, Game 2 and Game 3, to the most kind of cynical negative, it's let's draft Caitlyn Morgana, lose the map, and thus do nothing. That's kind of what's happened around the proactivity on the side of Griffin. So it's nice to see them make proactive moves with the Irelia on the top side, but largely around Urgot just playing the brush camp strategy that does largely work out for Griffin.
Gets caught out in the end, as we did all see. Tarzan and the Hens not going to help him out with that one. Nearly got a kill on the backside. Credit to him. Sword looking pretty good on the Urgot. We weren't sure as Chovy played it in the finals, but Sword says, hey, I can play 3 games of it if Gen.G let me. That's been the way it's been going so far.
Moments like that do herald the increased likelihood of the epic 5-man fight. The epic 5v5 is what we've been looking forward to. That hasn't really happened this series, but we know can happen based on the history of both this matchup and the individual teams. No big gold lead, 2,300 at 24 minutes. Decent for Gen.G, but not a game breaker. Sword chasing, he's got some magic resist now, so there's definitely more than a hope in this 1v1.
Granted, it looks like he doesn't have that glacial path right now. He's going to have to Frozen Tomb just to try to survive the rest of the team coming on in, but they'd rather disengage at this point. So, nice little catch there by the Urgot. Nothing blown by Crown in the end.
That means that things need to change as time goes on. When the magic resist item is complete, suddenly Lissandra isn't a good matchup. Into the Urgot, getting that confirmation. Didn't mention this earlier, but it is Predator Gragas this time, and the Electrocute dropped in this matchup to try to make plays where the Olaf is not, rather than any hope of winning the skirmish. Olaf will always win that one. Chovy finally in a side lane, never got to play this in game number 2 because the map was really killed earlier, and I see you smiling because I think we're getting to double digits with these Drakes.
We are, but let's take a look at this. Chovy going 1v1 against an Aatrox. That's some fancy moves, actually, trying to get away from this one. He's going to be able to block that. Does have the blasting plant, but he's got the rest of Gen.G on the other side anyway. So Chovy getting a little bit too frisky there. And yeah, definitely feeling like a bit of a play-by-play stats guy as I'm counting them up. Gen.G 10-0 on Drakes over Griffin tonight.
Pretty good scoreline, and let's see if they even get on the board in this series. Outside chance they don't. Likelihood still is they'll pick up a Drake somewhere, but for now, not being possible. Urgot pushing during all of that, but won't get an inner turret, and there will be an outer turret going down for Gen.G. Third of the outer ring is down. Only mid lane outer turret for Gen.G is alive. Griffin will hope that these deaths that take a lot of time and don't lead to huge central further objectives will mean 3-4 items start to hit on their carries. But to what end is still something we're not sure of. I think the Irelia really needs to put her carry pants on in a team fight to get Griffin over the line.
Yeah, not the best look, though, so far from Chovy. Gets caught. He's now at 0-2. Just finished his Trinity Force after the Maw Malmortius is beginning to get some damage, but now you're looking at a Gragas that has a bunch of tanky stats, a stopwatch, Ninja Tabi, Knight's Vow on top of that, Zhonya's for the Lissandra. And how about a catch onto Tarzan? He is Olaf, so the best they can do is just get his ultimate away.
What this all means.
Okay, Lahen's gonna face check here up against Lissandra. I know you've got a black shield, but that's not enough. Juve behind Viper here. Viper forced to flash, but will it matter? This is a world-ending guy, and a double kill in the jungle at the same time. Only Chovy is gonna survive. Zord is over here as well. Up against Juve, is gonna get the kill in the end. Credit to Sword. He's playing solo queue. He wants to carry his team, but the rest of his team is not letting him.
Yeah, it's a 3-for-1, and the smite is down, so even though the kill feels good, they have to go over control wards. Will they be able to catch the Baron health? 4,000. Will that mean anything? The first thought is no, but Sword is full health.
Sword full health, the missing stun also means that is going to be Baron going over to Gen.G. They are running away with this one now, 5,000 gold ahead.
Love the flank coming through from Juve. These summoners mean nothing to the Aatrox. They get the ult out of Olaf, and that's a pretty big thing when it comes to a Baron fight.
Oh, this is just Crown being so smart.
He is smart. He knows someone is camping that brush. And Aatrox was out of vision at the start, and by the time Viper puts 2 and 2 together, turns out 2 and 2 is 4, it's not 5. Look at the last bit of damage, it's 730. The attack move actually attacked the turret, but when he finally got an auto onto the enemy, 730 damage. Perfect execution. He goes down, and the Baron is the reward for Gen.G.
That's when the Aatrox feels really strong. That's the Aatrox you know from solo queue as well, who gets really far ahead and dunks your team by himself. And yeah, I mean, Crown, I love what he did. He scanned the ward, the control ward, knew it was a control ward, waited nearby because he knew that Griffin would feel comfortable because they have vision there, waited until someone stepped up, had the timing perfectly, and was able to shut down the Hens once again, who is not having the greatest game on Morgana 2 games in a row. I would love to see something different outside of the Cape Morgana once again, but those early ganks from Haru, it kind of just feels like Gen.G are outplaying them twice in a row.
We were worried that we would see this particular Griffin in playoffs. Think back to the Afrika series, we said, this team's been stubborn. Will they just repeat their mistakes rather than varying things up like they did in the regular season? The answer was no, you would say, for both that match and the LCK Grand Final. But this, again, is the side you worried about. This is kind of the rookie jitters you wondered about when it comes to Griffin, because they can be stubborn, and their stubbornness so far is getting Gen.G a big lead as Crown and Sword start trading. That is the ult down from Crown.
Here's the follow-up engage. That damage coming in from the Gragas. Sword's got his own stopwatch. Cast on a Toby. He's going to get into that backline, though. A double stun. Toby going 1v3 right now. And there's Crown with his own zone. Yes, but he's going to go down anyway. Lahen's creating some room. Cube finally joining into the fight. Can he do the same 1v4? Is going to be able to take out Sword, but the rest of his World Ender is going to go down. Toby still alive somehow, some way at the end of this fight, and Viper quietly doing damage, is going to snipe one more. Toby finally goes down, and Viper is going to disappear as well as Ruler. He's just way too far ahead in this one. Gets a double kill. There's the ace, and Gen.G win in the end.
Big difference in AD carry in that fight. Problem there is the Caitlyn. It looks so off-center for Viper for a series that he's playing at. Ruler could dip around, get nice burst in. Instead, didn't really see much value from Viper on the back end. Beautiful flank to assassinate the enemy AD carry. Just watched between the two AD carries. So much else is happening, but unfortunately, I really felt the difference there was what separated the fight. As picture-in-picture we see, the inhibitor does go down. So Ruler comes in late, he's on a ward, but consider Viper does have 3.5 items, so you want to see stuff out of Caitlyn, but count the autos here. A couple onto Ruler, those feel good, but while other people are diving, he's using Piltover. Peacemaker's getting auto onto the cannon minion. He gets so little damage down in this fight. Meanwhile, because of the nature of Xayah with the Knight's Vow and all the other buffs onto him, he's able to cheat around and make actual impactful plays, and that to me separates Gen.G and Griffin. It was really nicely played. Look at that.
Yeah.
Filtering the Q there. The feathers were really beautiful. And unfortunately, that means inhibitor down. And now we're one team fight, maybe even a couple picks away from the first match point of the series going the way of Gen.G.
Definitely looks favored to Gen.G at this point. 11,000 gold ahead. That's the damage you were talking about, all those feathers specifically, and he was never really in danger. Look at the difference between the 280 carries. 2,000 gold. Again, Ruler is ultra fed at this point, but the positioning was there.
And you might say, well, the enemy did over 3,000, but it's 2,200 different. You're seeing most of the champions did 2,200 damage in the entire fight. That is a huge difference between 80 carries. Also just a reality of Caitlyn around 3 items compared to when she once again spikes at 6, when you really feel the benefit of her range. So unfortunate difference there means that Gen.G now have a 12,000 gold. They kind of out of nowhere. You blinked a couple of times, you move your head up, and we've been focused on the mini-map and, of course, scoreboard in the fights. Now you look at the top scoreboard, and it reads very favorably for Gen.G. And all those Drakes mean that when the Elder spawns, Griffin have to go for that lose-lose, where even if they get the buff, it's just a denial.
11 Drakes, by the way. This Gen.G are just upping the tally. Chovy, this time, it looks like he's the guy that's trying to carry his solo queue team, as the laning phase wasn't the strongest from him, I would say, up against the Lissandra, but he has been performing here in these late game fights. So Griffin, this time if they can hold on, let's see what they have. You mentioned 6 items per Viper, but Gen.G, they know the timers as well. They know when this Irelia and Caitlyn combo are going to begin to pop off. They're going to want to get that Elder and Baron, try to end the game, and go on to game 5, or rather 4, from there, and just end this series.
And I just want to talk about the fact that Ruler has his Bloodthirst, just so, you know, 1 item ahead already, you're like, uh-oh. Consider also what else Ruler has. He has Knight's Vow from Gragas and Zeke's Convergence from Core JJ. And we have an Ardent Sensor and Black Shield coming through from the side of Griffin. It doesn't compare. This is really a lot of extra utility strapped onto Ruler, who already was in the lead. Now even a Shirelius, so that last auto does connect. Yeah. So much extra for Ruler, and he's 60 CS up, 5 kills up. Feels like Ruler is pretty much set up to hit 10 kills, win the MVP, and put us into match point for Gen.G. The Griffin Dream got them into 2 match points against KT Rolster, and now Worlds is feeling pretty far away.
You're on the precipice of match point as Griffin. How do you dig yourself out of this hole? Can CV Max contain himself, contain composure after this game, which certainly looks like a loss? Gen.G just waiting for that moment. Griffin now at this point just have to play ultra passively. They know they have no vision, already an inhibitor down, a Baron about to spawn. I don't think there's any way you can really challenge that. But a Baron into Elder, into turrets and inhibitors, most likely means the game. They're trying to take back some vision here in their jungle as they know that a couple of members are missing. Tarzan, look at him get bursted by Cuvée.
They're fighting on his terms. He's not using his ability as a gap close. He's using to nuke people.
Look at Viper scratch the Aatrox. It's like using Scratch in Pokemon. It doesn't actually do any damage.
Well, this is going to be a free Baron. It seems like we can't see the health bar.
Yep, there it is. Smite comes in, and the Xayah ends up picking it up anyway. Down it goes, and just about as free as you'd like for Gen.G. 3,000 gold, or 13,000 gold ahead. Yeah. Corrected myself real quick on that one, as 3 just did not sound right for this game state.
Gen.G walks up, a cask, a glacial path that will zone, and Ruler will do the rest. Look at that overshield. He is already super tanky. That's 2,800 effective health, and then he gets a battle dance. It's about 3,000 health onto Ruler. He walks up, see a turret. He won't anymore. It's going down, and Griffin, when do you go for the last stand? Where is your Alamo?
I'd say probably Nexus turrets. You do have this Caitlyn. You just have to stand back and try not to die. And Gen.G themselves, they're going to take it slowly, go from inhibitor to inhibitor after getting this Baron. Sword on the right side looking for a flank. Honestly, you would need to kill Ruler to win a fight.
Also, it's an Urgot flank, so not really too much to say there.
Yeah.
They're just trying to be creative. They know if it's standard, how can Gen.G lose? Everything's set up for them.
Chovy struggling to go 1v1, and immediately the feathers start flying, and both Tarzan and Lehens realize, okay, we can't fight this guy right now. It's going to be the third inhibitor going over to the side of Gen.G as they're looking to potentially end the game in this one. Gonna take it slow. There's the stun. They're actually gonna catch Urgot in the back line, and down he will go through that stone plate. So much damage coming out. Chovy, though, he's gonna be able to take him out. Lehens takes down Haru, gets that kill. The rest of Griffin, though, is on the run and super low. Viper getting critted in the face, and Gen.G looking to push here. The Xayah just critting down the Hens as well. The feathers, they're still flying. They still want to win that game. Crowd looking for that one moment once again. But the autos go on to the Nexus, and Gen.G are on match point.
Slow and steady, Gen.G get over the line when you needed to make percentage plays, when it's all about the little trades. Trade something for nothing, trade something for something more. Gen.G came out ahead. The vision was the big winner for them this game, where even when they stepped too far, there was nothing that Griffin could take as a response. Meanwhile, Gen.G had the spoils, they had the map hacks, they always knew what they were trading for, and it seems like they were trading for a victory in this regional qualifier, a 2-1 lead for Gen.G here, and unless we see that notepad reach a new page for CV Max, if they try it a third time in a row and lose, for once it's going to be the criticism flying his way and not the praise, as it seems like the hype train for Griffin, these young bucks have gone so far, might end today.
I love Crown's reaction to stretches himself, takes a yawn, says, thanks for the bus, guys. That was a fun game number 3. CV Max still calm, cool, and collected. He's not yelling yet, but some dejected faces on the side of Griffin. This is not what you want to see. Some discussion going on now between Sword and CV Max. As the Urgot this time around, that first pick for 3 games in a row, wasn't really able to do quite as much. The Aatrox beginning to look better and better.
We were calling for the Aatrox first round ban. We were calling for change, but Griffin stayed the course, and while it was better, it was not good enough against Gen.G. Aatrox did some big damage. Most damage in the game. That's the first time we've seen that from Aatrox, but it was very visible the moment he got anywhere near a squishy. Really nice performance from Gen.G, and they didn't have to show anything new to pick up that second game victory.
Yep, the exact same team composition, minus Nidalee plus Olaf, or rather, No, from the side of Gen.G. They had the exact same composition. They are able to get that win. Let's see what happens after a quick break, guys. We'll be right back.